Hi everyone, Coach Sullivan here with MGS Coaching Football again. To my subscribers, I thank you, and to those who haven't yet, I hope you do. I just finished my 38th year coaching football. I was a defensive coordinator, but during that time frame, I've also been an offensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, as a longtime head coach, and all of this at both the collegiate and high school levels. Today, in this presentation, what I'd like to talk to you about is one of our pass rush line stunts that we call Yugo. Okay, you go. So it's a works off of a previous presentation where I talked to you about the U game. Well, this is the You Go game. Okay, so this is what we call a pistol game, and I'll explain what that means. It's called You Go, and I have it from four different fronts with the designated blocker. So the blocker that the second person in the stunt's going to be working off of reading. Okay. So the key terms we have here are first is what we call a pistol game, which is a two-man game. It's a pass line stunt on the first level. So that would mean, as I have up here, only the defensive line could be an outside linebacker, but he's aligned on the first level. Because otherwise, coming from the second or third level defenders, it would be a blitz. Okay, so that's important to understand. The Yugo, like I said, is a two-man game, and this one is to the rover. All right, it doesn't necessarily guarantee the rover's involved, although the rover is, because in three of these four fronts, the rover is a part of that front. But in the fourth front, the rover's not, but the two defenders who are, they execute it. So we'll go over that. It's very simple. But again, that brings in the multiplicity. Simplicity can equal multiplicity. What outside cage is, which is a pass rush lane assignment or an aiming point that we give. And in this case, it's 2 yards outside the quarterback set. So, the quarterback sets up here is very different than off the screen over here. So we're going to show you how we just simply teach, as I was taught as a player, how to recognize where the quarterback is, because that is the person, after all, we're attempting to sack or disrupt, knock off their point, and so forth. Okay? Inside cage, PRL, right? Same thing. Pass rush lane, trying to save myself a little bit of writing. Aiming point, only this time it's the near armpit. So if I'm rushing this side, it's this armpit. If I'm rushing this side, it's this armpit. Okay? Stab. One word, stab. That's speed rush B gap. S, speed rush. I know it's two words, but speed, and the end of the word is the letter B. Speed into B. Speed into B. So stab, one word, means speed rush into B gap. Okay? That is the first of the two. He's going to speed, stab, B gap. Speed and read is the second, or the outside defender. Okay, who's going to end up looping behind the stab or the inside defender. Okay, and then we'll teach you which blocker he's going to read. In some cases, the blocker won't even be available to read. Okay, as you'll see. So that's not a problem either. And then what's meant by the butt side rule? The read or the second defender of the designated blocker. If that blocker, like when you see what Yugo is, you'll understand what I mean when I say the designated blocker may not even be available to read. Which is okay, but you'll see what I mean. So typically, right, blockers here, we want the read defender to go butt side, which would mean here, right? If you go here, you're going to get blocked. But if you go butt side, he's not likely to block you with his butt, right? Okay. So, first of all, how do we designate which blocker we read? Well, we're an odd front-based defense. So for us, it's a very, very simple rule, as you'll see. Okay, so the designated blocker rule okay, it's going to be guard call side unless. Guard Call side unless. So as you see here, right? The Yugo game is two-man game to the Rover. So Rover's on the left. It's lucky. See that guard? There he is. Rover on the left again. Lucky. Now the guard's covered. But so is the center. Oh, see, here's the key. So it's still the guard. This time, and this is the only front that the back is drawn because the back is part of how we align in the split front, 10 personnel. Rover's on the right, so this is a Ringo. We utilize Lucky Ringo, LR, right, left, right. Lucky left, Ringo right. Again, guards covered with the 3 technique, but the center's covered. So now we're going to get to the unless part. This is a front the Rover's not a part of, but it's still a Ringo to the Rover. Whatever you use to name your players, however you line them up, you got to come up with a simple way to identify for your players how they can determine the side to execute the call. So there's no confusion, right? No gray area. Make everything tangible. The Rover is right. The Rover makes the Ringo call. You know, everybody in the defense, starting with a Rover, knows this is going to your side, dude. So if you're on the right, you better be making a Ringo call. Because if you notice here, he's not part of it. This is we have 4 defensive linemen in the game. The tackle's the 4th. He's a pass rush specialist. Okay? So that takes care of that. But now here's the guard call side unless. Here's the unless, right? Guard's covered. Center isn't. Center becomes the designated blocker. So it's the guard call side unless guard's covered, center isn't. Boom, done. Okay, it's like that for everything. So there it is, done. You can't, in my opinion, you can't have the designated blocker is this one and this call. Nope, now it's this one and this call. Oh, well, now it's this one and keep changing who that is. I just don't think that's fair to your players. At the professional level, so I'm sure they do that. But we're not the professional level, meaning professional football, NFL. Okay? All right. So what I'm going to do now is I go through Yugo with you. The only blockers that I'm going to illustrate what they do, I'm going to do in brown. And it's going to be the designated blocker and then the tackle next to him. And I'm going to show you why. Okay? And then this first diagram will be the only one I'm going to show you how we teach our players based upon quarterback set how to establish outside cage, inside cage, outside cage, inside cage. Okay? And before I even do anything, this is what we call a 4-man pass rush or a 4-man pressure because it's the Rover in this case, the defensive end, and then the other 2 guys are rushing the quarterback too. So it's a 4-man rush, okay, in every single case. All righty? So with that then, here we go. So we're going to assume the tight end is out in the pattern. What we typically get is what was called big on big. Okay, Bob, big on big. We just call it Bob. Bob protection. Big on big. Okay? So we get that. We get that. At times, the guard double reads inside to outside linebacker. But ultimately, when in this case, the inside linebacker is not blitzing, he's going to be looking outside. Okay, so now here we go. Here's Yugo, right? Stab. Speed and read, right? So the inside defender is the defensive end in this case. We say stab. Right? Speed rush, B gap. And then outside cage. Now the speed and read, 4 hard upfield, right? So it's a double speed rush, inside, outside. When he says takes 4 hard steps upfield, you kind of teach your players how to do it without being robotical and being slow. It's a speed rush. So as he's speed rushing up the field, his eyes are in here. And that's the loop behind. Speed and read, loop behind. Okay? And then he goes butt side. So if the guard works for depth, now when you got speed rush, this is an outside linebacker executing it. He should be on top of the guard, to be honest. He should be on top of him. He should beat him. But what's going to end up happening, so let me bring in now the quarterback set. Let's say the quarterback just stays behind the center, right? We'll keep it simple. This is one we technically execute this one in without question a definite passing situation. It doesn't have to be such a long yardage that we're anticipating soft sets from the offensive line. We can execute this on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, and the team we know is going to throw the football, so they're hard setting. Okay, that's not the indicator. It's the indicator is we want to execute this in a 80+% tendency to throw the football. Okay, so quarterback sets there. The stabber, right? The inside, the guy going first, the stabber, as he's up the field, he's got to set the outside cage 2 yards. I mean, I know you keep having him where I illustrated, that he's working outside. Well, that's just the mindset of outside cage is the equivalent of contain. But as I don't want players thinking, I got outside, he stayed inside of me, I did my job, he never broke contain. Well, he also got to stand there for 5 seconds and pick us apart. That's not what we want. I tell our players, hey, dude, sideline did the same thing, brother. That's not helping us. So for us, that's why we say you got to establish we're never going beyond the plane of the quarterback, but be 2 yards from the quarterback. That means you're literally 2.5 steps away from making the sack yourself. He knows you're there. He can feel the heat. So if he sets up behind the centers, basically stays where he is, now you're in a path up the field, and you're going to actually be working in. Okay? So now the speed and read looping behind, if the guard is able to get up to your level and he's facing you, so let's get him up a little bit deeper. So he's on your level, right? He's going to be up top. Butt side is going to be back toward the original line of scrimmage. So when the quarterback steps up, you're in a position to get to that near armpit. If you go backfield, shoulder of the guard, now the quarterback can duck underneath both defenders, and that doesn't work. So see, the butt side changes a little bit. Okay, he's facing here. If that's the backfield side, we want him to go this side. Okay, so underneath, so when the quarterback steps up, you're there to make the play. Hopefully that makes sense. So the butt side changes slightly than it does when it's happening right on the line of scrimmage. It's happening 2-3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So the butt side changed, okay? So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, because now you're reading and reacting kind of like one-on-one in space, and the better athlete here, the outside linebacker, should win that. Again, we're not talking NFL caliber offensive linemen who are extremely nimble on their feet, or even the Division I guys at Alabama and Oklahoma and so forth. Not referring to them. Of course, the guys rushing in both the NFL and Alabama, they're equally as good. So I hope that makes sense, because now I just want to go through it again each step of the way. So we're going to get here and here. Now from the 3 technique position, right? Stab, speed, read, set the outside cage, right? So I have him duck under a little bit again. So we got a defender on either side of that designated blocker, so the quarterback can't try and beat us on top or underneath. Okay? Down here this time we got a Ringo. And I'm not even going to bother drawing. If they have a hard set, this thing happens on its own up the field. But I'll do it just enough so you can understand how this would play out. So let's say they do hard set slightly. Stab, speed, okay? And we'll say the quarterback, I'll do it in blue again. Sets up in the A gap away from them. So now what will happen, right? He's got to find it and set the outside cage. Now he's still going to loop behind, so staying at the same level as the quarterback, right? There's the quarterback's depth. There's the depth of the outside cage. If the quarterback were to try and step up to avoid, well, now our speed and read is on the course after looping underneath behind, right? The stabber is in a position to get into the face of the quarterback. We want to be on the 2 different levels, and the speed and read looping behind is always closer to the line of scrimmage than our outside cage defender. Okay, so in other words, his angle is in front of the quarterback, where the outside cage is at the level of the quarterback. Okay, outside cage, level of quarterback, speed and read, the looper behind is his course is in front of the quarterback, because the thought is he steps up that puts you on course to hit the near armpit. Okay, and then last and certainly not least is the one where the read, the designated blocker, the read defender is going butt side on, becomes the center because the guard's covered and the center isn't, right? So we'll say here, because what ends up happening, and I'm going to draw the Mike linebacker, the Amazon front is not only 4 defensive linemen, pass rushers, right? Let's just assume we're not blitzing and playing coverage with 7 behind. We'll have him fake the blitz and then drop back, because usually he's responsible reading first here and then helping out with either A gap. So we get that. So now, stab, speed, read. Let's again just say the quarterback stays behind the center, because this is a definite passing situation, maybe more of a little bit longer. Okay. So now the stab, the first. See, this is where we refer to the first in the stunt is the inside or the DN. We'll see this is a tackle now, but he's inside. The second is the rover or the outside defender. So in this case, it's the defensive end. So as we install all of our pressures, in this case, pistol games, that's how we phrase it. So when we get to this scenario, kids don't go, oh my God, who's doing what? The inside defender's first. Who's the inside defender? It's the tackle, right? Remember, the rover knows he's right. He makes the Ringo call. So stabbing, since he's in the B gap aligned on the guard, he's probably already 6 feet. So he sets the outside cage. So see, the thing that you got to make sure you discipline your players. Let's say when he stabs, he's clear, and his logical thought is he wants to go straight for the quarterback. That's not outside cage. right? That's midline. So outside cage, you got to discipline your kid to stay up the field, even though he's got a clear path to the quarterback. Stay there and then set. Same plane as the quarterback, same depth. And now you've established it so the speed and read is coming in front. Okay. And at that point, if he doesn't step up, now your outside cage can squeeze outside in, forcing the quarterback to step up, hopefully, right into the speed and read who had just looped behind you. Right? Remember, the first and second defenders are at two different levels. First is at the level of the quarterback, making sure he can't escape outside. And then the speed and read, the second, is looping in. He's in front of the quarterback, so hopefully when he steps up, boom, he gets a face full of our outside speed and read looping behind defender. Okay? So again, this is a nice one. Two speed rushers, discipline. Again, you got to teach the stab inside defender to be disciplined because all excited, hungry kids with inexperience, if they're free and they want to run right at the quarterback, and then a good quarterback with escapability gets outside of him, and now we're in trouble because we don't have anybody there to outside cage, prevent him from what we just said, get out of the cage. Because once he's out of the cage, now we're all in chase mode, right? If you use the analogy with a farm, if the chickens get out of the coop, oh boy, now we're in trouble. We're chasing them all over the place, right? Got to keep them in the cage. So if you can discipline your defensive line in that regard, you got a real good chance, okay? And so again, this guy has to be a defender who is pretty athletic in order to keep outside cage. Okay, I mean, it doesn't have to be, again, like Myles Garrett, who's running down running backs 40 yards down. It doesn't have to be that, but he's got to be athletic enough versus the quarterback to be able to pen him in, keep him in the cage. So the second part of this, the speed and read, who just looped in front, can make a play as well. Could be the nose of the stud, beat their guys and are in a position to force the quarterback out too. Okay? So as the beginning, I said thank you to my subscribers, and to those who haven't, I hope you do. I mean that. And now I'm saying to everyone, any questions at all, please reach out to me at CoachMJSullivan@gmail.com because I would love to talk football with you.